Hi, my name is Jim Stoeckmann. I'm a practice leader with WorldatWork. I'd like to talk about the fundamentals of sales compensation today. Big picture sales compensation is the way in which you engage your sales force in pursuit of the sales strategy for the organization, and you do that through a variety of means, but certainly one of them is through a sales incentive plan. Most organizations that have a sales force have some kind of sales incentive plan in operation. And I think there are four fundamental elements of the sales compensation plan that you have to think about. As I say, it fits in the context of the overall sales effectiveness elements that you have. So the way you assess, the way you coach, the way you manage, the way you train your sales force, all those things are vitally important. You've got to have the right people in the right roles with the right skill set in order to be effective, of course. But I think you also have to have a sales incentive plan that will motivate the sales force to achieve to their highest level possible. And those four components, or those four fundamentals of sales compensation as I described them, begin with pay mix. Pay mix is the mix between guaranteed pay or base salary and at-risk pay or incentive pay. And you can have pay mix of 95-5, where you've got 95% is in the base and 5% is incentive. And you can have pay mix that's 0-100, where you've got no guaranteed base salary and you've got the sales force or the sales people on 100% commissions. The norm, according to our research, has been a 70-30 kind of pay mix. I think that represents about the median in terms of pay mix for organizations. But there's a wide variation from, as I say, something as minimal as a 95-5, where you get a 5% sales incentive, all the way to a full incentive plan with no base. So think about pay mix. And the way you determine what the right pay mix for your organization is to ask yourself the basic question: how much influence do my salespeople have on the customer's decision to buy? If that influence is 100%, in other words, that's the only person that motivates or encourages, persuades the customer to make a purchase decision, then you probably want to think about an aggressive pay mix. But if you've got a team sell that's involved, or if you've got a long sales cycle where, again, you've got a lot of different functions involved, you'll probably want to compress or diminish that pay mix to something that's 80-20 or 90-10, something like that. But that's an important decision you have to think about. You have to think about how your sales force is going to respond. You have to think about how your CFO is going to respond. You have to think about the culture of the organization. There's a lot of things you have to think about. The other fundamental that works hand in hand with the pay mix decision that you set is the upside opportunity. And we sometimes call that leverage, we sometimes call that upside opportunity. But the bottom line is that element of pay that's at risk, let's say 10% for the purposes of this discussion, you may have an upside potential that pays their top 10% performers, those that achieve at an excellent level. You may pay them as much as 2 times or even 3 times that at-risk pay element. So in other words, they'll get their 90% base salary, and then your top performers might get 3 times that 10% for a 30% incentive bonus that's basically a max payout, and it results in a total cash compensation payout to that salesperson of 120%. And that's with, as I say, a 3 times upside potential. So think about those 2 elements, and they'll determine the aggressiveness, if you will, that you put into your sales incentive plan. And the way you communicate that to your sales force, the way you manage your sales force, all those things are going to play into that decision of exactly what the right pay mix, what the right upside potential is for your organization. The other 2 fundamentals are very important as well, and they interact with pay mix and with upside potential, one of which is performance measures. We recommend that no more than 3 performance measures. If you have more than 3 measures, you dilute or diminish the impact of that measure on the salesperson's performance. Think of it yourself. If you've got 10 things on your to-do list today, it'll be hard to get all 10 of them done. If you've got 2 or 3 things on your to-do list, it allows you to focus. And I think that's what you're trying to do with a sales incentive plan, is to help your organization, help your sales force focus on what's really important to your organization's success. The last thing to think about is, do you want to make your sales incentive plan a team-based or an individual-based plan? And that's purely a decision that's based on who all is involved in the selling process in your organization and how complex is that selling process. But make that decision in advance, make it up front. Don't let that decision be made in the throes of trying to trying to do credits and splits and things like that in the course of the year. Think about whether or not you want your goals to be applicable to an entire team and have a portion of their sales incentive that's derived from the team success, or if you want it to all be, or if you want your sales incentive plan to be an every man for himself kind of plan, then an individual-based performance measures are probably the best way to go. So think about those 4 fundamentals, and I think you've got your arms around at least the fundamentals of sales compensation. Pay mix, upside potential or leverage, team or individual incentives, and then finally the number of performance measures that you have. Thank you very much. I'm Jim Stoeckmann with WorldatWork.